So students, today we will study the next application of distribution law, that is in studying the chemical equilibrium involving the formation of complex ions. So distribution law can be used to study various equilibria involving the formation of complex ions. And we know that the equilibrium reactions involve expressing the rate in terms of equilibrium constant, or I can say that equilibrium reactions are measured in terms of their equilibrium constant. So by using distribution law, we can measure equilibrium constant for a reaction, as well as we can determine the formula of a complex using distribution law. And an example of this is tetraamine copper 2 sulfate complex. As you can see on the screen, in the first reaction, when copper sulfate is treated with ammonia, it forms a complex tetraamine copper 2 sulfate ion, or in ionic form I can write copper 2 ion or cupric ion plus ammonia molecules forming tetraamine copper 2 ion. Now here you can see the ammonia molecules are 4 in number. Although if I say that you react copper sulfate with ammonia and you don't know that how much would be the number of molecules of ammonia attached to it, then you need to determine that experimentally. So here lies the application of distribution law. By using distribution law, you can determine the exact number of ammonia molecules attached to copper, or I can say that you can determine the formula of the complex. So this is an example of a complex whose formula can be determined by using distribution law. The second application of distribution law in studying equilibria is in determining the equilibrium constant. And for this, I am taking the example of potassium iodide plus iodine reaction. As you can see on the screen, potassium iodide on reaction with iodine forms Ki3, potassium triiodide. Now what happens? Iodine is insoluble in water, and in order to make it soluble, we add a pinch of potassium iodide to it. So when potassium iodide is added to iodine in water, then it forms potassium triiodide. So now iodine from covalent, being covalent, changes into ionic in nature. Here Ka is positive and I3 is having negative charge. So so after addition of Ki, iodine comes into the form of a salt, potassium triiodide, which dissolves easily in water. Now you can see I have shown in this reaction that there is equilibrium between the reactants and products, or in ionic form I have shown that iodide plus iodine forming I3 negative triiodide ion. So if we want to study the equilibrium constant for this reaction, then we can apply distribution law. But before doing that, I would like to recapitulate your previous concepts, that what is equilibrium constant. You might have already studied in your previous classes that equilibrium constant is defined as the product of the molar concentration of the products to the molar concentration of the reactants. So in this case, you can see on the product side I am having potassium triiodide, and on the reactant side I am having potassium iodide and iodine. So equilibrium constant K for this reaction would be equal to molar concentration of Ki3 divided by molar concentration of potassium iodide divided by molar concentration of iodine. Now, in order to determine the equilibrium constant for this reaction, we must have the equilibrium concentrations of Ki, iodine and Ki3. Now, please listen carefully what I am saying. I want to determine the value of K for this reaction, but for determining the value of K or equilibrium constant, what I need? I need the equilibrium concentrations of potassium triiodide and potassium iodide and iodine. Equilibrium concentration here means the stage at which equilibrium is reached in between the reactants and products. So for determining the equilibrium constant, we need the values of equilibrium concentrations of potassium iodide, iodine and potassium triiodide. Then by knowing the equilibrium concentrations of these three species, we can put them in this expression. Hence, we can determine the equilibrium constant. But theoretically it looks quite easy. But by using distribution law, how would you determine these concentrations of potassium iodide, iodine and Ki3? So for this, you need to perform an experiment. So for this, let us consider, please see this picture. Here I am having iodine. Now what I will do, I will dissolve iodine in carbon disulfide and will shake iodine with taken in carbon disulfide with water. So I am having two layers, and first of all I will study the partition coefficient of iodine between carbon disulfide and water layer. So when I will shake a solution of iodine in in carbon disulfide with water, then what will happen? I had already told you that partition coefficient of iodine in CS2 and water is 400 times. It means that iodine is 400 times more soluble in carbon disulfide as compared to that in water. So what will happen? When I will shake a solution of iodine in carbon disulfide with water, then most of the iodine will go from carbon disulfide, will remain in carbon disulfide. But upon shaking, a little amount of this will go into the aqueous layer also. Okay. So by using the concentration of iodine in carbon disulfide layer and in aqueous layer, we can determine the partition coefficient. Let the partition coefficient for iodine between CS2 and water is represented by K. Now please note here that symbols for both equilibrium constant and partition coefficient are matching. So I am writing equilibrium constant as K equilibrium so that it does not create confusion. So equilibrium constant, now I am representing it by K equivalent, KEQ, not equivalent. So after determining the partition coefficient of iodine between CS2 and water, what I will do? Now come to this diagram. In this diagram, you can see I am having two phases. One is organic phase having carbon disulfide layer and another is aqueous layer. Now what I do? I dissolve iodine in carbon disulfide. Let the concentration of or initial concentration of iodine in carbon disulfide layer is A moles per liter. I have shown this in orange. the initial concentration of iodine in carbon disulfide layer is A moles per liter. Now I will add water to it, then I will start shaking this solution with water. Now what will happen? Some amount of iodine will go from carbon disulfide into aqueous layer. So that's why I have shown equilibrium between iodine molecules in aqueous phase and carbon disulfide layer, or I can say aqueous phase and organic phase. Is it clear? Now when I shook this solution of iodine between iodine in carbon disulfide and water, some of the iodine goes to the aqueous layer. Now you want to determine the amount of iodine that went into the aqueous layer, but in aqueous layer you are also having potassium iodide to dissolve iodine. So iodine that goes from organic layer into the aqueous layer will start reacting with Ki so as to form potassium triiodide. So it would not be easy for you to determine the concentration of iodine that goes from carbon disulfide layer to aqueous layer, because as soon as it will go from carbon disulfide layer to aqueous layer, it will start reacting with Ki so as to form Ki3. So it would be difficult to determine directly the amount of iodine that goes into the aqueous layer in free form. So for this, what we will do? We know the initial concentration of iodine in carbon disulfide. Then when we shake the two solution of iodine in CS2 and water, we will keep it standing for some time so that two layers will separate out. When two layers separate out, I will take a known amount of or known volume of solution from the organic layer and I will titrate it against hypo solution. So by that I can determine the amount of the iodine left in the aqueous organic layer or carbon disulfide layer by titration. So let the concentration of iodine left in the carbon disulfide layer is C moles per liter. Now please note here that जब हमने शुरू में कंसंट्रेशन ली थी आयोडीन के ऑर्गेनिक लेयर में, दैट वाज ए, जब उसमें से कुछ बी में ट्रांसफ़र हो गई, एक्वस फेज में ट्रांसफ़र हो गई, तो बची उधर सी. तो इसका मतलब है एक्वस फेज में फ्री आयोडीन कितनी गई. तो मैं कह सकता हूँ कि अगर ए शुरू में ली थी और बची सी है तो ए माइनस सी एक्वस फेज में चली गई. So I can see that concentration of iodine that passed to aqueous layer is equal to A minus C moles per liter. I have shown this in red. What is this? I can say this is the initial concentration of iodine that goes from the carbon disulfide layer into the aqueous layer. Is it clear? Now here, this is what I explained to you. I assume that let the initial concentration of iodine in carbon disulfide layer or CS2 layer is A moles per liter and the initial concentration of Ki is equal to B moles per liter. Here I am taking the number of moles of potassium iodide in aqueous layer equal to B moles per liter, shown in green. Now when the equilibrium is established between the two layers, the concentration of iodine left in CS2 layer is determined volumetrically by titrating it against hypo solution that I told you earlier. And let this concentration of iodine left in CS2 layer is C moles per liter, and the distribution coefficient of iodine between CS2 and water, I assumed it to be capital K. Therefore, total concentration of iodine in aqueous layer, I told you how will you determine it? It will be equal to the difference of initial concentration of iodine in CS2 layer minus concentration of iodine left in CS2 layer, that is equal to A minus C moles per liter. This is the total concentration of iodine in aqueous layer initially. Initially means after equilibrium. When shaking, upon shaking, that goes from organic layer into the aqueous layer. Now, out of this total iodine, in water I am having A minus C number of moles of iodine in aqueous layer. Now what will happen? Out of this total, some of the iodine will react with Ki so as to form Ki3, and some will remain as unreacted. Now how will you determine the amount of iodine that remains unreacted at equilibrium? So for this I will use this reaction. I can see in this reaction I2 plus Ki is forming Ki3. Now note here that initially I have taken A minus C number of moles of iodine and B moles of Ki3, and it is forming D moles of Ki3. But you can see here that molar ratio in this case is 1:1:1. Means if I react 1 mole of iodine, then it is with Ki, then it is forming 1 mole of Ki3. So I can say that the number of moles of potassium triiodide formed will be equal to the number of moles of Ki reacted. Is it clear? Now coming to the point again. Now I am saying that out of the total iodine concentration A minus C moles per liter in aqueous layer, some of the iodine react with Ki to form Ki3. Therefore, in order to determine the concentration of free iodine in aqueous layer, we need to apply distribution law. अब aqueous layer में free iodine कितनी है, उसके लिए हमें distribution law apply करना पड़ेगा. तो मैं कह सकता हूँ concentration of free iodine in aqueous layer upon concentration of iodine in CS2 layer will be equal to K. This is distribution law. What is distribution law? Ratio of the concentration of the solute in one phase to that in other phase. Aqueous upon organic phase is equal to equilibrium partition coefficient or distribution coefficient. So from here, how much would be the concentration of free iodine in aqueous layer? I told you that concentration of iodine left in carbon disulfide layer is C moles per liter. So अगर मुझे यहाँ पे आयोडीन की कंसंट्रेशन कार्बन डाइसल्फाइड लेयर में पता है तो एक्वस लेयर में कितनी होगी? आई वुड से दैट इट वुड बी K इंटू सी दूसरी तरफ जाके K इंटू सी हो जाएगा. सो आई कैन राइट देयरफॉर द कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ फ्री आयोडीन इन एक्वस लेयर वुड बी इक्वल टू Kc moles per liter. Hence the concentration of iodine that has combined with Ki will be equal to the, अब उस आयोडीन की कंसंट्रेशन कितनी होगी जो पोटाशियम आयोडाइड के साथ रिएक्ट की है, तो उसका क्या कैसे पता लगाएंगे? हम कहेंगे कि जितनी आयोडीन एक्वस लेयर में इनिशियली थी और फ्री कितनी बची, तो उन दोनों का डिफरेंस होगा कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ आयोडीन दैट हैज कंबाइंड विद Ki. सो अब टोटल आयोडीन प्रेजेंट इन एक्वस लेयर इनिशियली I calculated it equal to be A minus C moles per liter shown in orange, and free iodine I found by using distribution law equal to minus Kc. So concentration of iodine that has combined with Ki would be equal to A minus C moles minus Kc. This comes out to be equal to D moles per liter. Is it clear? Now further, as in this equation, 1 mole of iodine combines with 1 mole of Ki so as to form 1 mole of Ki3. Therefore, the concentration of Ki3 in aqueous layer, that is molar concentration, I am here representing it in square brackets. It means molar concentration of Ki3 will be equal to the concentration of Ki. So it comes out to be equal to D moles per liter. And concentration of Ki left in aqueous layer, अब Ki बचा कितना? इनिशियली हमने लिया था पोटाशियम आयोडाइड. यू कैन सी इन दिस डायग्राम आई हैव टेकन इट B moles per liter शोन इन फ्लोरोसेंट ग्रीन. सो इनिशियली मैंने लिया था B moles. अब जितना पोटाशियम आयोडाइड रिएक्ट कर रहा है उतने ही Ki3 बन रहे हैं, तो मैं कहूँगा अब बचा कितना होगा? B लिया था, D बन गया, रिएक्ट कर गया एक तरह से, सो बचा होगा B minus D. यू कैन सी हेयर the concentration of Ki left in aqueous layer is equal to B minus D per moles per liter. And concentration of free iodine in aqueous layer, iodine concentration वो हमने डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन लॉ से निकाल ली, वो कितनी है, Kc मोल्स पर लीटर. सो प्लीज नोट हियर दैट by using distribution law I determined the molar concentration of Ki3 as well as Ki and as well as molecular iodine. So and see here that the expression for equilibrium constant for this reaction is molar concentration of Ki3 upon Ki upon I2. Sorry, molar concentration of Ki3 upon molar concentration of Ki into I2 concentration. So now I am having all the three concentrations. I am having molar concentration of Ki3 as well as molar concentration of Ki as well as molar concentration of I2 iodine. So by putting these values of potassium iodide concentration, iodine concentration and potassium triiodide concentration in equation for equilibrium constant, we can calculate the value of equilibrium constant. So this is how you can apply the equilibrium constant, you can apply distribution law for determining the equilibrium constant. Thank you.